mark its 4th anniversary, developer Housemarque has announced a free PlayStation 5 Pro upgrade to Returnal, promising to give an already superb PS5 roguelike shooter a resolution boost of up to 2.5 times on Sony's Pro hardware. The exact phrasing of up to 2.5 times does suggest a form of dynamic scaling is in play, which I'll get to in a minute, but it's a welcome move that addresses one gripe with base PS5's image quality. As a refresher, base PS5 to this day uses a fixed 1080p base resolution, which is temporarily reconstructed to 1440p and then upscaled to a final 4K output via checkerboard rendering. While the game is brilliantly executed in its core technology, with particle effects often filling the screen to dazzling effect, alas, this unusual setup does cause some visual noise on the standard PS5. It's hardly a game breaker, and gameplay is king after all, but high-frequency details like stairways or fine texture maps appear rather grainy in their resolve. It inevitably falls short of what the PC version is capable of. So what exactly does PS5 Pro bring to the table today, and does the boost affect its performance at all? To cut to the chase, the PS5 Pro update gives us a boost to 3072 by 1728 at peak, with dynamic resolution scaling in place to adjust to GPU load. The introduction of DRS is new to the Pro version, in fact, replacing the static fixed 1080p of the base PS5, which does have some bearing on frame rate, as I'll get to. The lowest figure on record on PS5 Pro based on my tests, meanwhile, is 2400 by 1350, 1350p, caught during intensive boss battles where the frequency of screen filling effects is most apt to hammer the GPU. Even lower figures might be possible, of course, potentially in later areas. Even so, that maximum possible 1728p on Pro is a surprisingly frequent event across the first 3 biomes I've tested, and in fact over-delivers on Housemarque's promise of a 2.5 times increase. Rather, this best case value is closer to a 2.56 times increase over base PS5's static 1920 by 1080 resolution, which is a nice bonus. The result then, in comparing PS5 to PS5 Pro, pans out just as you'd expect. Admittedly, the rapid pace of Returnal's action means that a resolution boost won't always scream at you, but supposing you want to take in the sights at your leisure, this is a clear upgrade. Focusing on the staircases ahead as we run forward, or even zooming into the detailed floor textures below, the moire patterns present on base PS5 are minimized. The flickering is reduced on hard edges, and notably in any case where there's a sudden burst of effects. Where the pixel structure appears in its raw form for a few frames, you'll notice less aliasing. A great way to illustrate this is with the pulse-like scan ability by pressing R3. In freezing the first frame just as this scan hits the geometry ahead, we're able to see the raw pixel structures of both PlayStation 5s in all their glory. There's no upscaling or reconstruction in effect yet, and we're catching these edges pre-scale. This is just one way that it's possible to pixel count, and here it underlines the boost PS5 Pro is offering in the best case. I won't go on for too much longer about this, but a few final points on image quality. First off, PS5 Pro, you might have noticed, still has some temporal instability, with a similar cross-hatch effect to base PS5 as it upscales to 4K, though the artifact is subtler on Pro due to its overall higher pixel density. It's not perfectly clean in every frame then. There are raw edges if you know where to look, but they're much finer steps at 1728p. Secondly, a 2.56 increase is not sustainable in every scenario. PS5 Pro, after all, offers a 1.45 times GPU boost over the base model, which is misaligned with the demands of that res boost at peak. This is precisely where DRS makes an impact though. We're extracting the highest quality frames where GPU headroom allows it, while at its lowest point, 1350p, image quality is still better than base PS5. On hindsight, it's a shame then that base PS5 isn't retrofitted with DRS as well. Still, this Pro patch does exactly what it says on the tin. No other visual upgrades are in place, volumetrics, alpha effects, textures and shadows remain the exact same as before, and rather what we do have is a simple but direct way to route PS5 Pro's higher GPU resources. All of which brings us to the hypotheticals, where there were alternative routes to using PS5 Pro. There are other enticing options that could have been explored, like a 120Hz mode, even if perhaps that would have required a resolution drop to maintain. The other obvious route could have been adding the PC version's ray tracing features, as my colleague Alex Battaglia covered in his PC review 2 years ago. Ray-traced reflections and shadows aren't essential, and indeed, each one comes with its own limitations on PC, but would have been fascinating to see on Pro even as an optional mode. Here, it's strangely not even being considered, and so it stays a PC exclusive feature. What we're left with on Pro then is simply one single way to play, with no graphics toggle to speak on, but it does deliver on what it sets out to do. On to performance testing, and first up, it's worth stressing that the highly randomized nature of Returnal's roguelike design means that exact one-to-one tests simply aren't possible here. To recap, base PS5 runs well at 60 frames per second to this day, though there are certainly drops under the target. It's uncommon, but under the right circumstances, the potential is there. The first boss battle in the initial Overgrown Ruins level, for example, drops into the mid-50s, and likewise we have a smaller degree of sub-60 drops during one major boss battle in the tower area. Another outlier is on respawning back to the ship, where there's often a brief, choppy passage of play, lurching to the 40s for a spell, though this soon clears up on base PS5 as we stand upright again. Finally, I did notice a highly unusual point at a staircase in the first biome, with seemingly nothing occurring ahead, dropping us to a constant 55 FPS. Again, of course, even more drops may be possible further down the line and in the right circumstance, but these are exceptional moments to a generally solid 60 FPS experience, where the only other thing of note is the traversal stutters between areas where we see those one-frame blips. Jumping to PS5 Pro, it's possible to recreate at least some of these moments. The good news is that boss battles, like the one at the end of the first biome and at the tower, are entirely cleared up at a stable 60 FPS on Pro. Between its higher GPU clock speed and greater flexibility afforded by dynamic scaling, we're able to lock tightly at 60 FPS now in both areas, which is great. Overall, the DRS scale between 1350p and 1728p appears well judged and targets PS5 Pro's capabilities sensibly. It's also good evidence that while there may be drops in later randomized configurations of a level, and with enough progress, PS5 Pro fully patched up here is theoretically more stable. The move away from a fixed 1080p on base PS5 gives it more leeway to adapt to the maelstrom of effects that are possible from moment to moment. With that being said, there is a small catch. Traversal hitches remain, and there is also a slightly higher frequency of hitches to 50 milliseconds on PS5 Pro, multiple dropped frames just as an attack lands on an enemy. It suggests that PS5 Pro needs a split second to adjust its resolution via DRS to an unexpected spike in GPU load caused by effects, with a correspondingly greater spike on the frame time graph there. Speaking more generally on Pro performance, it's worth noting that time may well reveal more significant drops. However, after several days playing PS5 Pro up to the third biome and through the tower area, I did not catch major drops otherwise as yet. That's not the final word, of course, and given the game's randomized nature, more taxing areas later on are certainly possible. Indeed, posters on threads like Reset Era are noticing framerate dips with the Pro patch installed, with some suggesting that it perhaps ran better in a pre-patch state on Pro using the base PS5's rendering setup. This is admittedly hard to prove or disprove given that there's no availability of matching footage pre-patch. That aside, the outlook is positive based on the evidence of matching stress test areas. PS5 Pro is an improvement over the base model in holding 60 FPS, plus we're getting a sharper image into the bargain too. As unexpected as the Pro Returnal patch is, fans will no doubt be delighted that the game is getting more attention from Housemarque. It's not an ambitious Pro upgrade by any means, and PC's ray tracing features remain out of reach, but there is a boost to image quality that's appreciated. The only minor catch is a slightly higher occurrence of 50 millisecond frame time hitches on Pro just on striking an enemy, but the pros outweigh the cons in getting to a more stable 60 frames per second overall. A very straightforward update all round then, but if you do own a PS5 Pro, it's a great excuse to boot the game up again for another run. But that's all from me today. If you did enjoy this video, feel free to like or subscribe, and don't forget to hit that bell for instant notifications as any new video lands. To get a high quality version of this video and many more, check out our Patreon at digitalfoundry.net, and to get in touch directly, you know where to find me. But from me for now, thanks for watching.